Hey, what's going on everybody, and welcome back to another new and exciting episode of the Whiskey Cove. And on today's installment, we look at the top 5 whiskies of the Whiskey Cove from 2022 and see how they stack up nearly 9.5 months later. Let's find out. Run the video. Alright then folks, welcome back to the channel. And before we get going on today's exciting video, if you don't already know, the Whiskey Cove is having a massive, huge free giveaway for you folks at home. So far we have 4 bottles on that giveaway, and I'll be pretty fast with this kind of pimp if you like. So the first bottle that we have is going to be the Willet Green year, or the Green Top 4-year rye. We have the Old Forester Barrel Strength Single Barrel. We have the Weller OWA 107, and the most recent addition at 4,000 subscribers, the Black Top by Foreman, early times bottled in bond. So if you want to win one of these bottles, A, be a subscriber, and then B, go over to the Whiskey Cove's website and make sure you put your ticket in as well. And for all other questions that you might have, go and check the description of the video. We've kind of filled in some of the blanks and some of the questions that I was getting about the free giveaway. So let's get these bottles out of here, and then let's get on with today's video, shall we? So we are revisiting the Whiskey Cove's top 5 whiskies from 2022. So I had a lot of fun doing that video, and I think after like 9.5, close to 10 months now, I think it's worth revisiting as we start to get to the fall of this year and we start to really think about the next top 5, if you like, here. So in the order that they were presented to you folks back, I think it was in December of last year, we'll just pull one out at a time, taste through it, and just see how it's held up here. So first, number 5 that came in last year, and that is Jay Bowman Single Barrel. So I think recently they've actually upgraded the single barrel bottles. You don't really have this kind of font or this labeling. They have like a strip label. On the small batch it's red, and I think on the single barrel I saw that it's green. It doesn't really change anything or any of the juice that's inside the bottle, but I haven't tried any of those newer single barrel labels. I don't think it'll be any different unless any of the differences that varies between different single barrels in general. So let's get this thing open. So I have been nursing this bottle quite a bit because I thought I had a backup for this, and I actually don't. So this is the only Jay Bowman single barrel that I have here, and this is similar to the one that we did. This is the bottle that we did through the award ceremony, but I've had some before that as well. But this is the one that kind of tipped it up to that top 5 spot. It's just beautiful, like French Italian cream vanilla, like a cherry di Serrano note, beautiful woody balance there as well. And we also did a face-off series where we blinded the Jay Bowman single barrel up against the E.H. Taylor single barrel. Kind of spoiler alert if you want to go back and watch that. This won, and yes, like I said, it was a blind video, but this narrowly won. Peaches and cream here as well, and just like a nice touch of like a butter frost in there as well. Really beautiful nose on this, very, very delightful. Not much spice or no heat whatsoever. Let's go for a taste. Very soft, very well balanced. Get like a cherry cola note there as well on the palate. It's just a beautiful, beautiful bottle. Excellent finish, excellent wood presence there as well. Kind of like a peach cobbler with plenty of brown sugar kind of going on there too. I paid about $50 for this when I was in New York. So if you are in and around the East Coast, New York, New Jersey, maybe not New Jersey because I think that might be government-run liquor stores, but definitely New York. If you hustle a little bit, I think you might be able to find these for $50. But definitely a worthy place on one of the Whiskey Cove's top 5 of last year. Obviously, I can't put it on this year's list because how I like to do the top 5 lists is it has to be whiskies that I've tried for the first time this year. Not necessarily whiskies that came out this year, but just whiskies that I've tried for the first time this year. But this would definitely be there and thereabouts, and an excellent addition to the 2022 release. So next up was a little bit more of a unique bottle. This was a single barrel pick, but it was just more of a combination of the single barrel picks that I've had from this distillery in 2022. And that was Maker's Mark single barrel picks. The one that I had was a private selection pick. and it was called Stegosaurus Rex, and that's really the one that was just head and shoulders above everyone else. I haven't got that today. What I do have is kind of like my own Whiskey Cove single barrel pick, if you like. Not something that we've picked ourselves here in the Whiskey Cove, but what we did was we got all of the wood finishing series, every single one. I mean, one from the RC6, the first one that came out, all the way up to the BEP, and we blended them together, and this was the result. But mainly talking about that single barrel pick, it was just a beautiful expression of what Maker's Mark is all about and what they can come up with their wheated bourbon and how they rotate their warehouse to get that consistency. But this single barrel that I had, it was around about 55% ABV, as much of the Maker's is, but I just remember it had like a bright juicy green apple note there as well, a really nice like custard vanilla spice, and just an excellent wood oaky backbone across the whole thing. However, for this one, like I said, it is a marriage of all those. Kind of like getting a little bit of a dusty rickhouse note here. So we did do this a blind with a BRT and the BEP. We did a three-way blind, and this came in second. It beat out the BEP, but it couldn't beat out the BRT 02. It's a little bit wheatier notes, like a cereal wheatier notes. Not much sweetness there at all. This reminds me more of the BEP that came out, that kind of dustier, woodier note. Not much sweetness. Let's go for a taste. A little bit spiky in the beginning, a little bit proofy. That settles out a little bit. And then you get a nice sweetness and a nice light tingling of cinnamon, bacon spices there as well. Not really anything to write home about. I just thought it would be a cool experiment. So the Whiskey Cove's Whiskey of the Year for 2022, in fourth place was the Maker's Mark single barrel pick that I had, the Stegosaurus Rex, and also some of the other ones I had that year as well. So then next up in third spot, it was quite a great bottle of whiskey, and that was Russell's Reserve 13 Batch 1. So the Russell's Reserve 13 Batch 1 was just a phenomenal expression of what Wild Turkey can do with the Russell's products when it gets to such a higher age as well. Obviously, the Batch 1 was the first edition in what would become quite a consistent release. I also feel I've had a couple of tastes of some of the other batches. I haven't got into the newer batch I have around here somewhere that dropped recently around Father's Day. However, the other two that I've tried since Batch 1 have just not been anywhere near Batch 1. For whatever reason, I think that they just went all in with the honey barrel, so the Batch 1 of the 13, and then since then, maybe they realized that if they're going to be putting out so much distillate, then they need to make it a little bit more of a small batch, as opposed to some of the really great expressions that they have. Let's go in for a nose. Can I get a little bit of bubble gum there actually as well? I never really get any of this Wild Turkey funk that some folks say that they get from Russell's and Wild Turkey products. That's not something that really resonates with me. I don't really pick up on anything like that. Definitely a beautiful, soft like apricot note there as well. I think maybe like an apricot beer, that when you taste the beer, you can't quite find the apricot note there, but then it kind of dings up a little bit just as you're kind of nosing it towards the end. Maybe like an apricot yogurt flavor, if you like that, vanilla yogurt. A little bit of proof there as well. This is 57.4%, so definitely getting up there in ABV. Let's go for a taste. Really soft, pillowy mouthfeel, but then that wood and kind of tobacco kicks up a little bit. There's plenty of spice on this, plenty of cinnamon, and just on the back end, a little bit of peanut brittle there as well. There's definitely a lot of wood on this, like a piney, like a piney or like an oak pew, like a church, that dustier kind of oakier note. Like I said, the Batch 1 was definitely the best, and I think that really stood up throughout the year as it got finished off and it was done. This isn't Batch 1. I think this is like Batch 2, if I believe. Nowhere near as good as Batch 1, but I think that was deserving of the list this year, and I don't think any of these 13s, unless the new one that I'll have is phenomenal, will be able to make the list next year, or this year even. So then moving into the final two, and probably the most findable and the cheapest that we have here today. First up is going to be the Jack Daniel's Bonded. So coming in at a measly $30 MSRP, it is a 700 milliliter bottle. They released Jack Daniel's Bonded the same time that they released the Jack Daniel's, what is it, the Triple Mash, I believe it was called. I finished it off not so long ago. I believe it was called the Triple Mash. They released them around about the same time as kind of like brother and sister. I didn't really like the Triple Mash so much, but this Bonded absolutely blew me away. And I'll be honest, I tasted this the other day. I feel like it might have got better. Oh my God, this is just such a great nose in whiskey. It is the epitome of going over to like a grandmother's house or your mother's house, and you arrive there just in time that some beautiful warm banana or walnut bread being pulled out of the oven. And there's some caramel sauce and sprinkling of brown sugar being drizzled on top, and you want to really just get in and get a slice. And as you're cutting the slice, it's falling apart because you just can't wait. And it's all of those notes in this glass. It is just so beautiful. I can't describe it any better than that, because it just smells exactly like banana, walnut, pecan bread with that caramel, beautiful sweet sauce drizzled on top. Let's go for a taste. So being bonded, 50% ABV and 100 proof, all those same flavors from the nose come through to the body of the whiskey as well. You might get a little bit more of like a cherry note there as well, and a little bit more spice, a clovier spice than or a rye spice than what you would get on the nose. But just a beautiful, excellent drinking experience. And as soon as this one is done, I will definitely be buying another one. This is so similar to the Jack Daniel's barrel proof that they do, but just without really any of the higher heat notes. Yes, the Jack Daniel's barrel proof drinks really well for the proof, but this is almost epitomizes what it would be like if you took that and took the alcohol out and just left a little bit in there just for that zing. Such a great bottle. Came in number 2 last year, but if I were to redo these again today, I think this might just be able to squeeze into number 1. However, we have one more left, and I feel like we need to try that first. So this is the Jack Daniel's Bonded, $30, and such a great bottle of whiskey. So then lastly, I'm the winner of the Whiskey Cove 2022 of last year, going back 10 months or so. We fell in love with this bottle of whiskey the first day that we picked it up, we cracked it open, and it was very similar to Jack Daniel's in terms of that flavor profile. And that bottle of whiskey, it wasn't a bourbon, it wasn't a Tennessee whiskey, it wasn't a wheated bourbon, it was a rye, it was a double oaked rye. And that is going to be Sagamore Spirits double oaked rye. And I've already poured myself a glass for this video, because me pouring myself a glass of this whiskey kind of inspired me to do this video, if you like. So I paid about $48 for this at Costco. It might have been $58, it was somewhere around there as well. Have a backup or two of this. Have drunk quite a lot through this, quite a lot, but I generally don't drink rye in the summer. However, now as the nights are getting a little bit colder, it is the perfect time to be knocking out some of these sweeter ryes, if you like. Let's take a little nose of this here. Kind of have like a really nice kind of marzipan cherry bagel type note there. And I know that might not be a familiar note with a lot of folks here in the US, but the cherry bagel, I think I've mentioned on the channel before, is this like little pastry cupcake that has like a cherry compote or cherry jam in the middle with some white icing sugar on top, and it's kind of like bite size, and it smells exactly like that. And you get that toasted fairground or state fair pecan note, with that dusting of cinnamon, dusting of clove, or whatever it is that they put on that stuff to make it so beautiful. That brown sugar there as well. That toasted bread, the marshmallow comes in as well. There's just so many great notes in this whiskey, and this is nothing bad whatsoever. It's going for a taste. This is definitely, out of the lot, has such a great mouthfeel. It is so oily. It just coats every single layer and single taste bud in your mouth. And if it's not even that high of an ABV. What is it, 48.3% ABV. But it drinks, the rye does lends the whiskey quite it does it a little bit of a favor with a little bit of rye that does come through. It makes it a little bit spicier. So it kind of spikes up a little bit more than what it is. It kind of drinks more like a 52 or 53% ABV because you get that rye spice ting or sting on the front of your tongue and some of the parts of your palate as well, like you would get with a higher proof whiskey. Like I said, I think I'm just tasting through these again. Almost would like to say that the Sagamore would be neck and neck with the Jack Daniel's Bonded for Whiskies of the Year for 2022. I wouldn't be unhappy with any of these whiskies on this list, and I'm also really excited to name my top 5. I might even have to do a top 7 for 2023, so do look forward to that. I will be dropping in December of sometime here. But as you can see, what an excellent lineup of whiskies, and whiskies that I've gone back and forward to sometime over the year, but also ones that I don't quite want to drink all at once. So hopefully you've enjoyed today's video. We've kind of revisited some of the stuff from last year. And as we drink through the world's whiskies one glass at a time, Sagamore Spirits 2022 Whiskey of the Year. Cheers.